Civil war is imminent. That's what protesters stationed outside Manhattan's Donald Trump Tower warned of. This as the protesters compared Donald Trump to Jesus and rallied in support of him right after the verdict was announced in our former president's New York City hush money trial. A group of supporters were set up across the street from Donald Trump's New York skyscraper as the former president addressed reporters from inside the building. On Thursday, 12 jurors found Donald Trump guilty of 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in connection with a hush money payment to an adult film star actress before the 2016 election, making him the first former U.S. president to be convicted. Trump is appealing the decision, and on Friday, he denounced the verdict to members of the press and reiterated his claims that the trial was rigged against him. Do you guys agree? The Trump guilty verdict certainly rallied Republican lawmakers behind the party's presumptive nominee. Republican Senators Ted Cruz of Texas and Lindsey of South Carolina both issued statements that they thought the conviction will be overturned in appeal. As Graham said, the Manhattan legal system has become a joke in every sense of the word, that this is a mockery of justice. And the senator added that they fear we have opened up Pandora's box on the presidency itself. Some really scary stuff here, guys. Plus, no less than House Speaker Mike Johnson in a statement on social media called it a shameful day in American history. Now, could this be the start of a civil war here in America? Well, there's definitely a lot of unrest among the people, I can tell you that. And it's time that we talked about it. You guys ready? All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. So first, let's go ahead and check out the scene from Trump supporters taking to the streets to show their support for the former president amidst this guilty verdict in New York. Check this out.
There you can hear car horns blaring, and you can see the flags waving. Supporters of former President Donald Trump taking their frustration to the streets of Little Havana in front of the famed Versailles Cuban restaurant. Mr. Trump found guilty Thursday on all 34 counts in connection with the hush money payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels during the 2016 presidential campaign. And while the vast majority of those who came out tonight did express their support for Mr. Trump, there were a mix of emotions.
I don't believe what's going on right now, to be honest. President Trump is the best president I ever had in this country, and it's very sad for me.
Like my uncle said, the U.S. flag is standing in distress right now. In fact, in a lot of the Trump protests, you can even see people raising the flag upside down to show their dissatisfaction with the Trump guilty verdict. The situation definitely got intense, especially in front of Trump Tower in Manhattan, where protesters stationed outside warned of a civil war and compared Donald Trump to Jesus as they rallied in support of him. Now, according to one of the protesters wearing a MAGA hat at the demonstration, these far left are trying to start a civil war, and a lot are expressing their unhappiness with the jury's decision, saying that it's a criminal act by the judge Juan Merchan, who gave them the court instructions before they deliberated. The group of protesters was set across the street from Donald Trump's New York skyscraper as the former president addressed the reporters inside the building. They even brought a boombox with them so that they could hear what Donald Trump had to say about his criminal conviction the day before. On Thursday, a jury convicted Donald Trump of 34 felony counts for falsifying business records, all connected to a hush money payment to an adult film star actress before the 2016 election. Now, this is certainly making history, as this is the first time that a former U.S. president has ever been convicted. And sure enough, Donald Trump is already appealing the verdict. Right after, he blasted the verdict to reporters, repeating his claim that the trial was rigged against him. The people who support Donald Trump, they're wondering why the Justice Department hasn't gotten rid of these so-called corrupt judges. For many, judges like Juan Merchan and Scott McAfee are a disgrace to our country. Do you guys agree? People came from all over to show their support for former President Donald Trump. One of the protesters who was interviewed traveled from Indiana to New York City to back Trump during his hush money trial. In the middle of all the protest chaos on Fifth Avenue, he told reporters that he expected a guilty verdict but didn't blame the jury. He said that the jury did the best they could with the information and set of jury instructions that they were given. But the judge did not give President Trump the opportunity to properly defend himself, and I think that the instructions to the jury were favorable toward the prosecution, not toward the defense. Another protester who recently moved to Texas from New York after finishing college called the trial a kangaroo court and said that he believed Trump was pegged as guilty from from the start. He said that it was very political, especially considering how you have Bobby Kennedy, who's also running as an independent, saying that it's political. And it speaks volumes. A lot of people consider Robert Kennedy Jr. as somebody on the other side of the aisle. And so for him to say this is definitely saying something. You know what I mean? So inside Trump Tower, Trump himself was criticizing the trial proceedings. He pointed out that the judge limited the testimony from a crucial expert witness and took issue with how the prosecutors treated the only summary witness that they got on the stand, Robert Costello. So Trump simply accused the court of collaborating with the White House and the DOJ, saying that the court was in total conjunction with the White House and the DOJ and blaming his conviction on Biden and his people. His warning to the American people? Well, if they can do this to him, they can do it to anyone, especially as he considers his political adversaries bad, even sick people. I mean, since the beginning of the hush money case, Trump has said that the investigation by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office is a political persecution against him. Trump also compared himself to Jesus, an analogy that many of his fans have used since. As one supporter, sporting a red flag, passionately said, Jesus also was found guilty and everybody still loves Jesus. You feel me? So if Trump is found guilty, it doesn't mean that we don't still love him. In fact, he even believes the conviction will actually help Trump's chances in 2024, particularly among black and brown voters, because according to the protester, we always get arrested for some stuff that we never do. There's no evidence for it. Spend some years in jail, sometimes weeks, whatever the case may be, but we always get indicted for some bull. So yeah. Some say that this just made Trump more relatable to anyone in the neighborhood. And if Trump were to be arrested, their warning for everybody is that it would be the cherry on top that sets off the Civil War or World War III. Now, despite the potential for a lengthy sentence, his supporters doubt that Donald Trump will see any jail time. Instead, they suspect Judge Juan Merchan, who oversaw the trial and will sentence Trump, will put Trump under house arrest just days before the Republican National Convention on July 15th, potentially blocking Trump from accepting his party's nomination, but not affecting his chances of a nomination or victory. The judge set the sentencing right before the convention on purpose, but I don't think it's going to impact the overall convention. He'll get the nomination and many believe will win in November. The Biden campaign is trying their best to turn this in their favor. They seem to have had their statement ready from the get-go. They used a lot of their usual stuff like no one is above the law and the threat Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. All that jazz. Now, of course, Trump's campaign is the one that's being given limited freedom here with the guilty verdict for the former president. So what do you guys think about all this? The situation surrounding the verdict is as dramatic as it gets, with supporters rallying and the former president calling the trial rigged. It's a lot to unpack, and I'm eager to hear your opinions down in the comments. And while you guys are sharing your thoughts, if you're finding the information valuable, consider subscribing to the channel. Totally appreciate you, and we would love to have you a part of the family. So right after the jury found Donald Trump guilty on 34 felony charges, Trump told reporters this is long from over. And certainly enough, we're hearing an uproar from across the political spectrum. Trump warned how we're a nation in serious decline and pinned the blame on immigration issues. He claimed that many who have entered the country have questionable backgrounds, including some from prisons or mental institutions or even terrorists. He slammed the trial as unfair right from the start. He criticized the judge and promised to keep fighting for the Constitution. He said that it's a rigged decision right from day one. With a conflicted judge, you should never have been allowed to try this case, and we will fight for our Constitution. His campaign quickly reacted by sending out a fundraising email calling him a political prisoner, claiming that the trial had been rigged and asking for a donation to stop total tyranny. Senators Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham have already said that they think that the conviction will not hold up on appeal. Graham went as far as calling the Manhattan legal system a joke and a mockery of justice and worried about the implications for the presidency itself. Speaker Mike Johnson, he labeled it as a shameful day in American history on social media, slamming the Democrats for convicting Trump on what he sees as baseless charges driven by politics more than legality. He's confident Trump will overturn this absurd verdict and he will win. Representative Tom Emmer, he also weighed in, calling the trial the biggest sham in U.S. history. He believes the American people will remember this corrupt, two-tiered system of justice when they vote in November. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, he called out the verdict as a travesty of justice. And on a note of retaliation, Representative Mike Collins suggested on social media that it's time for Republican state attorney generals and district attorneys to spring into action, saying, time for red state AGs and DAs to get busy. I mean, why not, right? Now, like I said earlier, guys, this could be the start of a civil war that we're witnessing right in front of our eyes. I mean, from the streets lined with protesters comparing him to historical figures, to the heavyweights of the Republican Party rallying to contest the outcome. I mean, we're witnessing an unprecedented chapter in American politics unfold right before our very eyes. But let me just say, this case against our former president, it has not only sparked debates across dinner tables and courtrooms, but it's also ignited discussions about the future of our political landscape and what it means for the presidency. Now, what do you guys think about all this? Is America on the brink of a larger conflict, even civil war? Or is this just another turbulent chapter that we got to get through? Drop your thoughts in the comment section down below, guys, because the conversation is far from over. Now, if you found this video insightful, give it a like, share it with like-minded people, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that gets right to the heart of what's really going on in our country. And I'll see you on the next one.